Hi everybody, this is Julie Melillo, and I sound a bit like a frog at the moment. I'm getting over a cold, so please excuse that. But I've just written a poem that is called The Little House I Loved, and it's about the process of change that we all go through. And it's the same feeling that my clients have when they're taking on a new exciting challenge, whether that's starting a new business or moving or looking for the right person to date. So I wanted to read this poem to you. It's called The Little House I Loved. This is to a little house in Tucson, Arizona, where I was loved, and where I would look out the window at the passing cars, comforted by their sound, but wishing they would take me somewhere, far away. And with every word of "this is how things are," something in me would scream and say no. As much as I tried to believe it was where I belonged, as much as I wished it was that way, it was not. And one day that voice, screaming, was so loud I threw my coffee cup against the wall to see what something looked like as it shattered. And I did too, as I fell on the floor alone and realized I was about to be more alone than I had been before. But it was the only way to open the door to what had been closed, to see what was behind that door and let what was supposed to be for me rush in. That warm little house I stepped away from, hoping it would still be there if I came back. And I stepped onto streets I'd never seen before, with the night darker than I'd known. Even with city lights brighter than I'd seen, I missed that little house, with the bright lights glowing through the windows, cold white walls containing much warmth inside. And I stood still in the park, on the phone in the snow, wondering if I would ever rip that Band-Aid and step into what was meant for me. Because even miles away, those words were still so strong. This is how things are. I screamed louder. I stopped listening to that voice completely, threw myself off a cliff, all the while wishing for a warm yellow window. As I walked New York streets at night in November, looking into brownstones and wondering who lived inside. But I knew for now I had to be outside in the dark alone, and I'm glad I was. In the sharp shards of what had shattered, and the chaos and terror of not knowing, I began to realize it was okay to have no idea. And that was my answer. In that silence came the truth, and it all became clear. I became what I was supposed to, and that coffee cup was put back together in a slightly different order. It would never be the same, though it was built from the same material. I'll always love that little house in Tucson, Arizona, with yellow windows that glow in dark nights. And though I'll never be back there to stay, I now know this may be how things are, but it is not how things will stay. This feeling of wholeness now and freedom came at a price I was glad to pay, in dollars and fear and lying on the floor loneliness. I'm so glad. I'm so glad I broke away, because otherwise I would be an unbroken coffee cup that looks lovely on the outside, with perfect porcelain reflecting ordinary images of a typical breakfast, but I needed to crack and break into shards and dust in order to see what was there all along. And now I can visit that little house and love it as it has loved me, even though it isn't me anymore.